virtually with outsiders, but lobbyists or citizens will not be coming into the suite or the committee room. Our hearings will be virtual. Our voting, as you know by now, and I'll get to that in a minute, will be in the committee room. And I have to tell you, I was one of the people who encouraged the Senate president to put in that rule. I want to be able to see people, see when we have consensus, see when there's a frown or frustration. It's a lot easier when it's three-dimensional than one-dimensional to sort of read the room, read the individuals. That being said, I really strongly discourage, and that's with a D, having your staff sit in the committee room during voting sessions. If your chief of staff has to come in and say, check your phone because you have an important message, that's fine. I mean, I understand that. But let's keep the number of people in our vicinity to a minimum. So that's the safety. We want to do that front and center and keep that foremost. And look, if you see someone who's not wearing a mask or wearing it below their nose, I'm encouraging you to say something. I think honesty is the best policy here. I want to err on the side of safety. You know, if we all get shots and things go away by April, then we can loosen up. But I think we should be careful and extra careful in the beginning. And Senator Dr. Lamb, Clarence, at any time, feel free if you have suggestions for how we can do things even better. You live the stuff 24 hours, and I can tell you he is living in 24 hours because he's not getting much sleep between his work in public health, the Hopkins system, as well as being a senator. Okay, let's move on to Bill here. Any questions about safety before I move on? Brian.
Yeah, as far as safety, I thought the Senate president said that people could vote in their office if they felt uncomfortable in the committee room. Let's
put a bookmark on that and wait till we get to that issue.
Okay.
Okay, but I want to address that. Absolutely. Okay, bill hearings. We'll be hearing bills on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in the beginning, and bill hearings will be virtual. You are encouraged to be in your office. During the first part of session, on days when the Senate floor doesn't meet, we're actually going to start at 11 o'clock. Whether we'll either go 11 to 12:30 and then reconvene at 1:30. Some days it might be 11 to 12 and reconvene at 1. Next Wednesday is the inauguration, which starts at noon, which I think should be fairly quick and pro forma. We'll stop at 12 so people can go and watch that, and then we'll reconvene like at 1:15. But otherwise, I'll try to leave an hour for a break between our meetings and morning meetings and afternoon meetings. So that is what we're striving for. On days when there are floor sessions, committees will schedule bill hearings based on how long we're on the floor. Usually we start at 1 o'clock. Depending how much work we have, we'll go from there. All scheduled bill hearings will be posted on the General Assembly hearing schedule. So if you want to check the schedule periodically for up to date, you should do that. The bill order will be posted on the hearing schedule the morning of the day of the hearings. Now, if you have a bill in our committee and it's a priority bill and you would like it to be near the front of the queue, feel free to come to me and say, look, this is one that's important to me. I have a professor coming from Colorado virtually.
It's my
only available at 1 or 1:15. I'll try to accede to that request. I don't want to guarantee it, but I tried to make those accommodations, but let's not abuse it. So hopefully there are fewer bills this year. And if you have one or two that you say, look, can we have it at 1 instead of 3 or 3:30? I'll try to handle it. Just give me a little notice or share if I'm unavailable, go to Lemuria, April, or Stacy. But give us a couple days notice on that if you can, or that day notice if possible. In terms of bill hearings, testimony is limited this year. It's a new policy. The default is if you're our sponsor of a bill, and let's say it's in our committee, you get to pick 3 of the 4 people testifying. You get to know a couple days ahead of time, and the 4th will be selected at random from people who sign up. The 4 in opposition, I will select a couple to make sure the organizational stakeholders who oppose it and have some knowledge are represented, and then the other 1 or 2 will be at random, and the same is true with support with amendments. That thing, so, and except for the sponsor, I'm not gonna start the clock. Your lead witness gets 5 minutes and other people get 2.5. So on a bill, it really is like 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes. That's not a lot. I'm not, afterwards we'll take questions. So if information has not been revealed, you should ask those questions if you feel you don't understand the bill. But let's be careful of throwing puffballs just to give people more time. Let's seek knowledge and information. That being said, there is another procedure for extraordinary bills and more complicated bills. If you believe a bill really is controversial and takes more time, there is a policy which I will decide case by case, where instead of 4 pro, 4 against, and 2 with amendments, it could go up to 8 for, 8 against, and up to 4 with amendments. I want to be careful how frequently we use that, but that will be available depending on the bill, and that'll be used on a case-by-case basis. Part of the idea, and again, I'm sorry I'm talking too long, I will try to do that less as we go on with session, is the quantity versus quality issue. As many of you know, over the years, I felt the quantity of bills has restricted our ability to really have a good conversation on a markup and a voting session because we have so many damn bills to deal with. We have fewer bills. We have bill limit, introduction bill limits, and now we have time bill visits. So hopefully that'll give us more time on voting sessions to get through bills, particularly the ones that have redeeming value and have support. They just need work. The ones that have no legs to them, as it were, that shouldn't take time any more than it did in the past. So understand we're trying to deal with efficiency and quality. I want us to put good bills on the floor, not, excuse the language, shit. I want us to get the right things on the floor, and if we have to spend more time in committee dealing with that, that's what we should do. So let me stop on hearings and hearings. Yeah, let me stop. Questions on hearings and hearing schedules. Cheryl.
Mr. Chairman, I just wondered if you wanted to speak to how we're going to ask questions during, whether there'll be a raise hand function that's enabled, or whether we do this and you notice us in whatever order. Can you just speak to that?
We want to follow what normally would happen in a committee. You'll turn your light on and so let's start with using the raising hand function. If we want to shift to literally raising hands, we'll consider it. But let's start with using the raising hand function. And look, I'll try to take people in the order I think I want to take people, but I will make sure your question, I get around to you. So let's start with the raising hand. Other hearing schedule or hearing questions?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question on the, so for bills that the minority may be opposed to, will you work with us so we can have a say in who 2 of those 4 panelists will be? Like you mentioned, like department, earlier about that, but would you be willing to work with us? So if it's something that, we're going to be opposing, that you would work with us so we would have say in possibly 2 of the panelists on the opposition side? Well,
Jason, I'm not going to agree to do X number. We should have a conversation offline, you and Brian and the minority. Again, on a simple bill, there are 4 pro and 4 con. As it is now, the chair, look, I try to be fair and honest. So I sort of know who's going to oppose the bill and who has the greatest amount of knowledge. I'm not going to put rinky dinks up there just to fill time. I believe people should know both sides of the issue. If I am in doubt, I will come and talk to you. But of the 4, let's say in opposition, I'm going to go to key stakeholders who would normally be the ones that would sign up in a real hearing. One gets selected at random from the people who sign up. That's not going to change. So the most the chair will have is 3 in the default process. The only caveat here, Senator, we have a lot of bills, and I got to tell you that this is very convoluted. It's going to be very complicated, and we're going to be moving at a fairly rapid pace. I mean, we have to get the list of the sponsor supporters. Then we have to know how many spots are available for the random selection from the sign up. So there are a lot of moving parts. And so I will do the best I can. And if at any point you think I'm not having the right people, let me know. Or if there's a particular bill you think it's important that the Farm Bureau, for example, is one of the opponents or the proponents, let me know. I mean, look.
Okay, thank you.
The sponsors select their 3. So I'm not in that at all. And the 4th one comes randomly. So I have no fingers on that. I have to figure out who the opponents are and get the right people. So I'm willing to get your input. I
Thank
can't
you.
guarantee. And again, if you ever feel I'm tilting it the wrong direction, talk to me and let me know. And I'm willing to say I made a mistake.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Senator Riley.
Thank you very much. I have a comment and a question. Mr. Chairman, under our new organization of the Republican Caucus, we've identified one leader. Brian, what's the term we use?
Ranking member.
Ranking member. Even though Jason is a new fellow, many times he will ask questions on behalf of the 4 of us. So asking a question, it may not be his personal issue, but he's acting on behalf of us, and he'll be taking issues to the group and also back to the caucus. So he's kind of the guy we're going to focus on. If you see him talking a lot, it's not because he's a know-it-all or has all these questions. He may be, in fact, representing us. That was my first comment. Second comment is, what's your opinion about us taking these committee hearings from our home?
I'm going to share what's been shared with me, Ed, and that is people are encouraged to do it from their office. It is not a full-fledged requirement. Sometimes we get really simple bills and we sometimes decide to vote on them right after the bill hearing. Does it matter if that vote happens in the complex or not in the complex when it's cast? I don't know. So I'm not going to check on your background. I'm just not. So I'm not going to say you can't be outside of the complex. I'm going to tell you you're encouraged to be in the complex in your office. So I wish I could be more explicit.
That's fine. That's fine.
That's sort of the soft answer I've gotten from the
I
office.
understand your observations. The last part is we talk about taking simple bills and voting right away. That'll be live streamed. When we have a specific voting session, which is called for, and we have 2 pages of bills, will that also be live streamed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Ed, we rarely vote right afterwards. I mean, if
Well, I understand that. Yeah,
acknowledge someone, look, we have some departmentals today. We will take them up on Tuesday in a voting session. If they're clean and ready to go. If they're not ready to go, we won't take them up. Let me also say one other thing about committee hearings. In normal days, you're here, you're listening, you're paying attention, so you are informed when it comes to a vote. People have to leave to take a meeting. I get that. Or to make a phone call or a lavatory break or whatever. And I think we should continue the same posture when we're in our offices or elsewhere. But that being said, I really think it's unfair to just leave it on audio for like 2 hours. You know, I think people can walk away. Yes, people can do laundry, whatever. So, you know, if you have to do a thing, you take off the video and you keep it on audio and you do what you have to do. And you also have to take a meeting. I understand that, or talk with your staff member. But because we're not in the committee room, let's be careful and not abuse the effect of virtual hearings. That's all. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So, Brian?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. I think all we're asking from the minority side is an open line of communication. I don't think you're going to try to do something underhanded. So that's where we're relying on Senator Gallion. If he knows the farmer, it's going to be advanced talking to you, not during the actual hearing.
Agreed.
And so in the past, I think it's worked well. So that's fine. We are also told by the Senate president that it's not a guarantee, but as much as you can as a chairman, you'll try to give us advance notice on voting, because the understanding I had was that members were allowed to come into the committee or hearings from their home. Some of our members, I don't know on this committee, but they're trying to standardize it, are a couple hours away. I know we have some on the Eastern Shore. So that was kind of the discussion we had, at least to the minority party, that they were encouraging you to be in office, which I will be. But they are also allowing people to be in their homes, and as much as possible, try to give us advance notice, like, you know, whatever the travel time is, at least that amount of time notice. And the last thing that came to the minority party from the president was that we were not allowed to put our picture up or our name. It had to be live streamed the whole time, even if we went away from it. So if you could get clarification, because that's different than what I'm hearing today.
So 2 things, Brian. In terms of voting, I will try to get you the voting list by close of business the day before, which is what we did last year. I don't like surprises either. I never liked them. We will do every effort to do that.
Sure.
So you've got at least an overnight, 15 hours to look at that list. I want to go back to your point about what is on your screen. What are the 2 different interpretations you think you've heard?
The Senate president was very clear. Now things change, I understand that. So I'm just trying to get the most recent. He was very clear to Senator Huff and I that you had to keep a live stream going when you were logged on to the Zoom call. You could not put up your Senate name or a picture. It had to be live streamed. If you had to go to another committee, obviously you would drop out of this Zoom call and go into another one. Now, if that's not the case, you know, it makes it easier for me. Put a picture up if I'm, you know, talking with somebody or something like that. I want to make sure we're on the same page.
I mean, I will check on that, Brian, but when you spoke with the Senate president, and if you had to take a meeting or go to the bathroom, was he thinking it would still show your office and your background? I don't know what the conversation you held with and what the understanding was.
That was the understanding. But again, things have been moving over the last month and a half, so maybe it's changed. If you could just get clarification,
Okay.
that'd be appreciated.
Okay, look, I think we want to replicate a normal hearing now. So normally if they see no one in the picture, they see no one in the picture. So I understand what the Senate president probably said, and I assume we should go with that interpretation, but I'll try to get more detail on that.
I think his concern came from, you know, 10 of the 11 members have their pictures up and they don't see them because you can do things, you can multitask. It's very hard to multitask in this kind of environment because it really looks like you're not paying attention if you're looking over, and so.
Yeah, but Brian, I think that's true during hearings too. I mean, look, I'm guilty as much as the next person. Am I checking my phone? Am I signing letters? Yeah, we all do that because There are only so many hours in the day.
I like putting a picture up. I'm on your side. I just wanted to
No,
make.
no, no, I'm not suggesting that, Brian.
Okay.
I think we should maintain as close to a regular hearing as possible. You know, I want to see as many of the 11 there for as long as possible. And as I've said before, if 3 or 4 people are in their seats, the 5th person should wait till someone comes back. I mean, this is going to be extreme. So I'm going to, for now, say we should go with the Senate President's interpretation unless I hear differently. So you keep the audio and visual on. If you have to walk away, you walk away. You know, and that's, I assume, what we should do. Mary.
I can't figure out how to, I'm sorry, I can't figure out how to raise my hand. I was trying to raise my hand and I don't see
No,
an option.
I saw your hand. We're
Okay,
informed.
good. I'm just like, okay. So, yeah, so on that, there's, I guess I want to agree about having a live background of some sort. So whether you're virtual or not, having an image, like this is my office, for example. If I got up, you can cover the slide and it'll just show my empty seat. It'll show I went to the bathroom or whatever and I came back. And so you as the chair can see whether or not, and then if you come back. So anybody that has a virtual background, you're able to do that. If you set it up, you cover the screen, or you do the privacy and it'll just show the background. So if I went away, whoop, she went to the bathroom. Well, I'm back. So that's something. And then certainly if you're in your office, which I do plan on being starting next week, it's the same thing. You get up, go to the bathroom, come back. So it's just my 2 cents. I vote for, rather than having, just the name. I think that's a different,
Right.
a different visual. So.
And we're sensitive about this now. As we spend hour after hour after hour, just like we did in hearings, and our butt gets tired of sitting there, we're going to have the same situation here. And during regular hearing, there are times we're out of our seat for 30 minutes. And people see it. It is what it is, and just understand what we're going into is the exact same situation. It's virtual. And maybe a few people say, oh, I tuned in and didn't see you in your seat. Just like now, you have to explain, I went to another committee. I had 3 hours of hearing and I have 3 hours the next day, and I had to meet with my chief of staff. The same explanation you would have given last year is the one you'll give this year. So I think we're going to have to sort of roll with those punches. Arthur, you have a question?
Yeah.
Unmute, Arthur.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
I mean, I think you all have the right to unmute. So if you want to interrupt to say, I've got a question, I want to keep this informal.
So, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I have trouble finding my raise hand. Anyway, I think it's disabled on this call. So, I just wanted to kind of say that.
It looks like the location has been moved. Arthur, it's like now it's under raised hand to reaction. It used to be under the participants, but now if you go to reactions,
Reaction.
raised hand is an option.
Okay, yeah, there it is. Yeah, thank you.
Well, but I have to say, I've not been looking at it. If people raise or jump in, I'll recognize you. But Arthur.
Great. No, thanks. Go ahead. I'm just following on. Thank you.
Okay.
It's also under the participation at the bottom right of participants when you click on that.
Yeah, some people are not getting that.
No, I don't have that.
I see a raised hand. We're gonna have to deal with,
So the
building an
trick, I think,
airplane and flying it at the same time. So we're gonna have some glitches and we're just gonna have to work around. So.
the trick is you need to exit full screen and then click participants. You should get a sidebar, and on that sidebar, it'll list the participants, and underneath it says raise hand.
Right.
That should be the way you open it up. But you need to not have full screen on for whatever reason, or you can't see the participants box.
So if you're on gallery view.
Right.
Yeah, I have to say that I do have a raised hand under my participants.
Yeah. Or speaker view, but not. Mhm.
Nope.
Yeah.
All right, could I work with this somebody after? I don't have that, but I can certainly use, if it's under reaction, I could use it. I mean, I'm using my laptop email address. I don't know if that matters, if it's a different kind of account, whatever, it shouldn't. Okay,
Well, let's work offline on that. I don't want to.
yes.
I've got a bunch more to go over. Okay, I think I've been told that attendance will still be taken twice at the beginning and the end of each meeting. And as always, under chat to Lemuria, if you've got to go to a bill hearing somewhere else, please let her know. Okay, I've covered that. I've covered that. You'll get a detailed plan on this, but anybody who intends to be a witness are going to have to set up a My MGA account to be able to receive the link, to sign up and receive a link and to upload their testimony. You'll get instructions for that. If you're a sponsor and you're going to have up to 3 people speak on your bill, you're going to have to explain to them how to do a My MGA account, or they can call the office. So for people to be actively as witnesses, they're going to have to set up an account. I can't explain how it's done or what you have to do, but you'll either get a memo, or check with Lemuria or Karen or the front office staff. Witness sign up will open 2 business days in advance of a scheduled bill hearing, and will be open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Witnesses, sponsor witnesses, I apologize, will be submitted to the committee by the sponsor bill and should not sign up through the MGA website. So you will submit your 3 names to Lemuria, up to 3 names, but anybody else will have to do the My MGA. Late witness sign up will not be allowed. All selected witnesses will be notified of their selection the night before the hearing and will receive the Zoom login. So you can tell people they have been designated to speak on your bill. They will get to Zoom the night before. Witnesses cannot designate someone else to take their slot. It's too confusing. We have to put it online. There's really a lot of stuff we have to do, and we're going to make some mistakes. So let's try to be understanding of that. Okay, written testimony, again, must create a My MGA account. Even if someone wants to testify and is not selected, they can upload their testimony. So, you know, if there's testimony, written testimony from 30 people, we'll take it, it'll be in the electronic file. Written testimony must be submitted 2 business days in advance of the hearing, and they can sign up for that early on. They can also call the front office staff. So in other words, if the bill hearing is Tuesday, we have to know the witnesses from you the Thursday before by the close of business. Then we will put the witness and testimony sign up for other people who want to sign up Friday from 10 to 3. And then it will be finalized, the list will be finalized on Monday for the Tuesday hearing. And we've got a little spreadsheet of, for if the hearing's on a Wednesday, backtracking how it works. So we can send that to you. So if Lemuria or April or Stacy can remember to send that little bill hearing timeline, that would be helpful. Okay, committee staff will not be making files for members this year. However, you may print copies beginning after 12 p.m. So in other words, if you want the testimony, you can download it and print it yourself, but we're not going to be making 15 copies of all testimony. You can read it either electronically online, or you can have your staff download it if you want to create your own file. Paper copies of bills and fiscal notes will be available. Okay, so the bill and the fiscal note will be available in the committee. Well, will for a hearing. Does that mean they come down to get them? Lamori or April? How are we handling?
So yeah, so we're going to do as we normally did. They're going to come down to the office and get them from Karen, but we'll put a podium at the door and they'll be labeled with your senator's name as well as the bill number. So you'll know which folder to take. So these are for second readers.
So not have to print out the bill and fiscal notes. If you don't want them, you don't want them. I mean, you can look at them electronically. If you want them pre-printed, you can come down to the office, go to the podium and get the bill and fiscal note. Testimony, if you want it in hard copy, you'll have to download, you'll have to print in your offices, or you can just read it online electronically. Okay. I've covered that. Subcommittees. Everyone has been assigned and we will use them as needed. For now, Senator Riley, I just put you in Senator Bailey slots. I think it's education and alcohol, I believe. Is that right, April? Okay, and I've also added Senator Washington to the alcohol subcommittee. Now, everyone always asks, will we be using subcommittees? And my answer will be as needed. If there's a bill that there's consensus is people want to pass but needs work, detail work, nuanced work, they're the kind of bills I want to send to subcommittee. If a subcommittee chair says this might be a good one for my committee, you should come to me and we should talk about that. If there's going to be major ideological battles, we'll have to decide whether we want to fight them twice in subcommittee and full committee. So that'll be a case-by-case basis of using committees. Okay, voting sessions, and Brian, we'll get back to your point in a second. I will give you notice of them, hopefully at least 24 hours or the evening before. Voting packets will either be hand-delivered or emailed to you. We're still trying to work out logistics because I want to minimize contact, personal contact. But you will get either notice and an email or actual hard copy the night before. We haven't decided whether we have staff who will come to your office and just drop it, knock on the door, drop it and walk away. We want to keep many feet distance, or whether we'll put them on a podium out front and we'll call your office and you can send someone down to the podium. We haven't worked that out yet. All voting sessions will be live streamed via YouTube, which didn't happen in the past. So voting sessions will be available for following by the public. There will be one hold per bill, not per member, but per bill. If you feel you're not ready, you need more information, you can ask for a hold. That doesn't mean a week, it means to our next voting session. So it could be 2 days, it could be 5 days, it could be a week. People can watch our voting session by YouTube. Here's a complicating issue. Sometimes we have a voting session and there's some unclarity and we need an expert. So we're trying to figure out how to have that expert be available ahead of time. For example, if it's a bill about DNR and fishing, do we have the head of the fisheries available for a Zoom if there's a question, not for a second hearing, but if there's a clarifying question? We've also had times last year on Kerwin where we've asked the head of the teachers. So we're trying to figure out how to handle that. I want you to have as much information as possible. And if there's some unclarity during a voting session or amendments, We want to figure out a way to have that expertise on hand. Obviously, we can always text them and figure out other ways to do that, but we want to keep you as informed as possible. In terms of voting, if it's unanimous, I'll say, is there any objection? The easy ones, I want to be efficient. If there's clear division, we will do a roll call. Lamourie will do that. If there's one or two objections, I'll say, is there any objection? And I'll repeat who is in opposition and we'll move forward. But I want to have a clear report on that. Now, the outcome of the voting session will be published in the hearing schedule. Let me stop there. Let's go back to Brian. I would ask if any of you are uncomfortable being in the committee room for voting session to reach out to me and let's have a conversation. The default is us meeting there. There's plexiglass, 8-foot plexiglass between each desk. People will be wearing masks. I'd like us to have an in-person conversation. If you feel physically uncomfortable, please seek me out and let me know, and we'll have a conversation. Brian, I'm not sure that fully answers your question, but other policies, for example, I'm going to say there's no eating during voting sessions. I want people not to take their masks off. Will you need a sip of coffee for caffeine to stay awake? Yeah, if you have to have a sip of coffee or your tab or your diet soda, whatever, you can do that, but we're not going to eat. We want to keep masks on. Brian, do you want to extend the conversation?
Yeah, I'm going to be voting in committee, so I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, people should see me. That's all. I mean, I heard as of 3 weeks ago, 3 of the 47 had a concern. I don't know if any of those people were on this committee. And if you have underlying conditions and you want to be extra safe, I want to hear that. I'm not a doctor, but just come to me, reach out to me, and we'll have that conversation. Our first voting session tentatively will be Tuesday on departmental bills. That's tentative. Okay, I want to get through this. I'm almost done. And I know Mary has to drop off if she hasn't already. Amendments. You may request amendments from committee council or from the amendment office. Please get amendments to council as early as possible so they can be in the packet, the virtual packet. Council will not include amendments simply suggested by the public just because they've mentioned them. That they are not going to do all the work that someone suggested. If you are interested in an amendment proposed by a particular witness, reach out to council as soon as possible and say, I'd like amendment prepared, or we'll call the amendment office. We're not going to try to guess to see what the Chesapeake Bay Foundation or the Secretary of the Environment mentioned or implied. It takes too much energy and they're going to have enough work to do. So if you see an amendment that makes sense and you want to offer it, go to committee council, go to the amendment room. We're not just going to include any amendment that was implied or referred to. Okay, floor sessions, and I'm just about done. Floor leaders will be selected by the chair with members' input. You all did a great.
Senator Pinsky?
Yes,
Senator
Stacey.
Pinsky? So we talked about this yesterday in our meeting. We have set up a particular email for you and any other senator that wants to send an amendment for consideration in a voting session to a particular email, so we make sure they don't get lost in the system, because we're not going to be getting paper copies this year. So when you want to offer an amendment for a bill that's going to be voted on, we will send you a document and a copy of that link. Please forward your email amendment to the committee through that email only, okay?
Again, this is in an effort to streamline your amendment requests.
Chairman,
Okay.
question about the Yeah, about the vote packets. I know you're still trying to figure that out, but if we could also along those lines streamline that and have those emailed to us too, that would be really helpful. I know, you know, the intent is to also to make sure that there's a paper copy too, but in a
Yeah, let's assume you will be notified of a voting session at least by 5 o'clock the night before. And with that will be an electronic copy of the packet. And then we'll still try to figure out the hard copy process, but we'll try to have that electronic packet with the amendments to you the night before.
Okay, thank you.
Floor sessions, my last item, then we'll take questions. You did a great job last year in terms of being floor leaders. I think we used everybody, and you really picked up the pace the last couple of weeks when I wasn't there. So thank you. And we're going to do the same thing this year. I or the vice chair don't feel we have to do all the bills. So I welcome your picking up some of the bills, and we'll assign them. Getting the packet, the second reading packet to the floor leader, we're still trying to figure that out, whether we deliver it the night before and leave it on the floor, whether we call you down and we put it on a podium outside. We want to minimize the direct contact, but we will, in any effort, try to get the second floor reader packet, if you are a floor leader, the night before so you can review it.
So Senator Penske, if I could just
Please.
really quick. So I apologize, but that's what I thought you were referencing earlier with the bill files. I was talking about second reader. We're going to go as we were doing last year and have the staff come down and retrieve the original bill files from the podium. As far as creating bill files, the members' bill files, that will still be left up to the member staff. That contains the fiscal note as well as the bill.
Okay, we're gonna have to talk about the bill and the fiscal note. But yes, the testimony for your own private file, you can read electronically or download hard copy. There will be a hard copy, a second reading file, the official file, which if you're a floor leader, you'll come and you or your staff will get a call. You'll come down and pick it up, hopefully by 5 o'clock the night before. Okay. After third reading, if you are a floor leader, please, 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 you need to bring them back and return them to Karen. They are the official file for the records and history for the legislature. General housekeeping, we do a protocol fee. We're not going to have food this year. We don't want people congregating and putting their fingers in a bowl of nuts or pretzels. But we do have other needs, flowers, illness, birth, etc. So let me stop there. I know I covered a lot. Let me just open it up to questions. You can unmute yourself and just jump in. Anything not covered that you'd like to talk about? I don't see any hands raised.
Just a note, something different this year.
Ms. Goodman.
Something different this year in terms of electronic testimony. So last year you were only able to view bills that were primary in our committee, but now jointly assigned bills, for example, SB1, the HBCU bill, is jointly assigned to EHE and BNT. BNT is the primary, but now we have access to the testimony that is submitted to BNT. So you'll be able to see all of that and we won't have to get you different copies.
Senator Fry Hester, you have a question or comment?
Yes, thank you. I just got, I was trying to track what's being emailed to who, and I got a little confused about whether it was an amendment request or amendment that was made that was being shared with everybody. And also just wanted to clarify which emails that would be mailed to. It seems like there could be a lot of emails. I mean, if we could put something in the chat box, I don't know. It just seems like
No.
the emails could get lost.
Yeah. Let me-
Council Morton, please.
Yeah, so, and I just sent out, Lemuria just emailed out the link and I sent a follow-up clarification email too. So if you want to request that an amendment be drafted, you can either go directly through the amendment office as you have in years past, or you can go directly through council as you have in years past. So you can either reach out directly by email or phone to me, Stacy, or Alexis, or reach out to the amendment office by email or phone. Same as the past. The difference is this year, if the amendment office drafts an amendment for you, you are no longer going to be receiving paper copies. They will just email you a PDF of your final amendment. So in the past, once you got that final amendment, you would bring those paper copies to the committee. Well, there's now no paper copies, so we need a different system. So we have set up an email address. It's called EHE Amendments. And I sent out by email. I can drop it in the chat too. But that will automatically, so if you just take that PDF copy that the amendment office sends you and you forward it on to that email address, and that way it will go to all three council and it will go to Karen, who will just in years past print it out and put a copy in the official bill file. So that email address is how you will be submitting, like formally offering the amendment to the committee for consideration. The other thing is, I will say, although we will not, same as last year, we're not going to be digging through like written testimony from random individuals and organizations to pull out amendments. That again is something, if you are interested, if a member is interested, we ask that they sort of highlight it and have us draft it up as an amendment. But if at the bill hearing, say the sponsor has submitted a formal amendment from the amendment office as part of the written testimony, we will pull that out. So we'll still be doing that part, but we're not going to be sort of digging through, on page 4 of the written testimony from Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We really think that this bill needs a provision that does this. So hopefully that clarifies everything.
And again, you can continue to ask questions each day of committee council. You can call down, you can text, you can email, whatever. If you're still confused, I'm confused on some of these things. There's so many details to handle, and it's just unique times. Other questions or thoughts? Senator Simon Ayer.
Thank you. Just 2 brief questions. Logistically, we would be in the committee, and if I had a bill hearing in B&T, usually Lamora would say, okay, they're ready for you to now to come up. Are we still doing that?
The great question. Lamora, do you know the answer to that?
Okay, so what, and I have all of your cell phone numbers except for you, Senator Raleigh. I'll need that. So what we decided upon was to text you guys when a bill is ready to be heard. That way, we figured that was the easiest way. You would have your phones right there and we'll be able to see it. So.
Okay. And then the second question, if I can follow up on another one, and you may not have the answer for this, but I imagine just with technology and so forth, I signed 3 people up to come testify, whatever, 24 or 48 hours before, and they say they don't get the Zoom link. Is there going to be some protocol how we approach that? Who do we talk to get them a link and so forth, assuming they've been signed up properly and so forth?
So the Zoom link should be sent the day before. So if they don't receive it that day, if they can give us a call before 5 p.m. on that day, the day before of the bill hearing, then we'll take care of it. But it will be sent the day before the hearing.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
So look, we will be answering the phones, Brian, and email. So again, if they don't get it by near the close of business, they should check in before 5 if possible. Senator Simon Ayer. Other questions, comments from anybody? Senator Lamb.
Yeah, I just had a follow-up question on the floor leader file. Is there any possibility of just scanning that and then emailing that as a digital copy so that it reduces two contacts, one of trying to get that to the floor leader and then having to return that back to committee staff too, and then also reduces the likelihood that, you know, if that paper copy gets lost, it's not lost in the record forever?
I think it's something we can consider. We just have to figure out the timing and how much extra work it'll be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, beyond that. Yeah, look, I like having hard copy. You know, I still read the hard copy newspaper so I can scan it. If you have the bill, if all you need is the bill explanation and you have all the testimony online and you have the bill and fiscal note online, you don't have to take the bill file. I mean, there are two documents essentially. It's the bill summary and the committee vote. And I guess the witness list.
Right.
So we have to think about that. That's all. I mean, look, if you don't want to have a hard copy file when you're a floor leader and you say, can you scan or electronically give me the voting list, the witness list, we could probably do that. I don't want to start having to scan 50 pages for 300 bills because some people might want that hard copy file because it's easier for me to skim through it. As I've said before, if it's green, I can go to MDE or Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and another testimony is on another headed paper, and I'll have that in front of me. So I think we should do it as requested rather than across the board.
One thing we could do across the board that would be easy is we could make a policy of just emailing the floor leader the floor report. Everything
Yeah, I
else,
think that's
for the most
right.
part,
Everything else
we
is
would have
available
online.
Yeah, I don't think we need the testimony all over again because that's already in the floor
Right.
system. We can just pull that up. It's really just the floor report and the committee vote, I guess, the vote sheet.
And the name of the witnesses. Will that be online as well?
That's online. Yeah, you've got there's a whole, the screen in your floor system sort of shows who signed up in favor and not in favor.
Okay. It's a fair point. Again, we can come up with something that I think will work for people. Senator Riley. Oh, okay. Other folks with questions? Okay, I want you to, have lunch. We have about 55 minutes. I believe, Ms. Goodman, we have the briefing and then the hearings. Briefing starts at 1. Okay, look, thank you all. I'm always open for questions. You can go to committee counsel, Lemoria, to Ian, if I'm not available. Thank you, and we're going to try to have a productive year. There'll be some bumps along the road, but I appreciate all of you on the committee and look forward to working with you. Okay, thank you.